Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name is Soleil and I garden in a zone 6A in mid-Michigan, and this is my first plant haul of the season. I am super excited about it. I've got a lot of annuals here and I'm going to be using these to plant up some of my containers, and then I've got a couple of perennials here as well that I'd like to share with you just so that you can hear a little bit about them, because sometimes people don't see all of the same plants no matter where they're shopping, but you can often get things online through mail order or catalogs that you might not see in your local nursery. So it's always fun to share these plant hauls with you so that you can learn a little bit about different plants. I love to do that too. Just finding out about new plants sometimes sends me on a whole new idea. All right, well, let's get started. The first plant that I want to talk to you about today is the one that's right in front of you, and that's this beautiful impatiens. These impatiens do really well both in shade and part shade. Sometimes they can take a little bit of part sun, but if you do that, they're definitely going to need a little bit more water. I really used these last year all around my front porch and in some of the planters there because I felt like they were going to really brighten it up. I have kind of a dark space on my front porch. At any rate, these will continue to bloom throughout the season because these are an annual, and you can deadhead them if you want to, but I find that it's not necessary. I just will come through and cut them back by about half or a third a little bit of the way through the summer, probably around July. And that way during the hot parts of the month, give them a little bit more fertilizer, and then they can continue to flower really well and stay nice and bushy, as opposed to maybe getting a little bit too leggy. So I think that impatiens are a really wonderful flower. They come in different colors like white, red, kind of an orangey color. This one, they come in a lighter pink color. Some people probably think that this is a purple color. I happen to think that it's more of like a fuchsia pink color. So everybody has individual, eyes and perceives color differently, but that's what I see this as, and I just love this color in my garden. It really does brighten up the shade. So I'm looking forward to using that one. I actually got 2 flats of it because I use so much of it. All right, next up, I'm going to share with you this beautiful alyssum. And this alyssum is actually called Easter bonnet violet. And we'll put some pictures up of these different varieties of plants because they might be a little bit hard to see from there, but this alyssum is absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely different shades of purple. It goes all the way from a violet to a deep purple. And this one is an annual. I find that alyssum often will reseed itself in my garden in spaces where I've grown it the last year. So this year I've already spotted some little seedlings around, and I'm excited to be able to harvest some of those and plant them in some of my pots. But I use this as a trailer sometimes or a filler. You can do it either way. And this one I am going to use in some of the same places that I used it last year. For example, I planted these near my black pearl heucheras as well as my bilberry heucheras, which are kind of a deep dark reddish maroon color that also have some hints of purple in them. So these really play well with that. I also like using them around my waterfall garden and next to the rocks because I feel like they soften that rock edge really nicely and they just look so beautiful. So these are one of my favorites, and they can be fragrant as well. These in particular are fragrant, and they stay nice and compact, and they really do prefer the sun or part sun. I think you can get away with some part shade, and if you're in the south, you probably will want to be able to grow them in the shade as well. But these only get about 4 to 6 inches tall, so they're a nice low-growing ground cover as well. And I just got 1 flat of those, and hopefully that will provide me with enough. I certainly never have enough flowers. I always feel like I could have more. Now I want to talk to you about another type of Dianthus, and this one is one that I'm going to be giving my mom for Mother's Day. So you'll be seeing this just after Mother's Day. But this one is called Ideal Select Red. And this one I got at Van Attas Nursery, which is near me. And that's probably the only place that I usually see them other than other specialty nurseries, like where I got this pine tree, which is called G Farms. And so these Dianthus, while they sell them in flats, like they are annuals, so I can get a whole nice big tray of them for like $22. They do come back as perennials, and so my mom absolutely loves these because we'll come over and plant them for her. These do the best in full sun. They can be in part sun as well. They get about 8 to 10 inches tall, and you know, they're often referred to also as pinks, and that's not because of the color, it's because of the edging around them is kind of toothed, and that toothing mimics the pattern that would happen if you use pinking shears, like on a piece of paper or on the flower itself as well. So again, these get 8 to 10 inches tall by 8 to 10 inches wide, and they just keep on blooming pretty much all summer long. So they are a perennial that acts as an annual and is often sold as an annual, but that can be a really great deal. It does like well-drained soil, but it tolerates my clay soil quite well. So for those of you with clay soil, just know that. It does require some deadheading to keep it blooming its best, and I typically do 1 to 2 cutbacks during the season. So but I think overall it's a wonderful, wonderful plant to have if you haven't tried it already. And those are the two that I typically see, besides some that have some variegated foliage, which I've showed you those in some of my recent past videos. The next plant I'm going to talk about is this one here, which is definitely purple. And this is a Superbell. It's called Great Punch, and it's a calibrachoa. So this one is obviously a proven winner's plant. These were $5.98 each at Lowe's, and these are considered a mounding plant or a spiller type trailing plant. And I'm going to be using these in some of my urns soon. So I really love these because they don't require too much water. If you are a person who likes to have potted plants and you live in an area where it's really hot or maybe dry during the summer, these can be better for you than something like a petunia because they don't require as much watering. I can get away with watering every other day and sometimes every third day with these. So these are considered an annual. They are only about 6 to 12 inches tall, and then they grow to maybe about 12 inches wide as well. And they're hardy down to 30 degrees, and they are a perennial if you live in 9A to 11B. So they do like to be fertilized, but I find that they grow really well even without fertilization for me. And these do best in full sun to part sun. And I absolutely agree with that. Again, these are Great Punch calibrachoa, and they make a wonderful container plant. I've actually never planted them in the ground, so I can't speak to how they might do in that type of situation. And I think, how many did I get of those? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 of those. And then also I felt like it was really important to have something that had a deep dark color to it. I know that these purples are dark, but in contrast to some of the pinks, right, that I have gotten, these are going to be a really nice contrast. So these are part of the Proven Accents series by Proven Winners, and this is called Sweet Caroline Raven Ornamental Sweet Potato Vine. This one was also $5.98, and I just got 2 of these, 1 for each of my urns. And these grow very well in full to part sun also, and they are considered an annual. They're best for being used as like a spiller, or they even will creep along the ground and make a nice ground cover as well. They grow about 6 to 16 inches tall and between 12 to 18 inches wide. I think they actually get bigger than that in terms of the width, so just beware. They're only hardy though down to 45 degrees, so you need to make sure that you're past any chance of frost in order to plant these, and they do like more water than some other plants do, but not an overly moist soil for sure. There's no need to deadhead these. Sometimes they will produce a bloom for you, which is usually like a light purple color. And these are an annual, like I said, except in zone 11A to 11B. So there's a very small area of the country where you can grow these potentially as a perennial. So these are really, really easy to grow. I find that they are pretty tolerant to drought as well, and they're easy to care for in containers. So I love having some of these. All right, next up we have some pelargoniums, which are also sometimes referred to as geraniums very often. And these are actually seed geraniums. I got these at Lowe's. These were $2.18 each. So not too bad. I got quite a few of these as well. And these also are quite drought tolerant. So I like to ensure that I'm getting things that don't require a lot of moisture when I'm thinking about planting them in pots, because you know, I work full-time and my son does soccer, and so we're just all over the place. So if you're a busy person or you don't have the time to come out and water every single day, it's really important to select your plants right for containers. So these, they suggest watering 2 times per week, which again, if you're only having to water twice a week, that's fantastic for containers. These bloom spring, summer, and fall, so they're a continuous bloomer, and they're also an annual. You can take cuttings of these and root them out and grow new ones. These are very similar to the ones that I showed you that I overwintered in my house that I actually grew from seed. These get to be about 18 inches tall by about 20 inches wide, so a really nice mounding shape, and they can be just covered in flowers. They really like the nice heat, and they are typically good down to, I would say, you want to make sure that they're protected anything under like 45 or 40. Sometimes they can take a mild frost if they've already gone through the whole summer and the temperatures are cooling down in the fall. But these are a really nice bright pink, and I think they go really well with these Superbells, and so we're going to use those as a combination in a planter. All right, and last but not least, we have this cute little dwarf pine. This pine is called Pinus sylvestris moseri, and that's spelled M-O-S-E-R-I. It is a Moseri dwarf golden Scots pine. So this one is one that I got at G Farms Nursery and Landscaping. They are in Stockbridge, Michigan, and they are well worth a trip. They specialize in really specialty type trees. So if you're looking for like a weeping spruce or a weeping cedar or a globular form spruce, or maybe you're looking for a Cameocyparis, you can find them there. This is a really unique nursery, and I highly recommend it to people who are looking for different types of shrubs or trees. They also have annuals and perennials, but definitely the shrubs and trees are what I think they specialize in. So I'm excited about this one. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Okay, so I'm just going to read this offline because I don't actually have a tag that explains it here, but this is one that is sold online by Mr. Maple. So if you want to order one of these after you hear about it because you think it's really cool, head over to mrmaple.com. And I'm not sponsored by him or anything, but mrmaple.com has this. This is one of a dwarf conister's. Moseri has long green needles on its first flush of growth, and then much shorter green needles in the following flush of growth. So you'll notice on this that some of the needles are really long, but then we have this short little needles that are following it right now. And it's a pretty slow grower because it is a dwarf evergreen. It grows about 3 to 4 inches each year, and it can get about 4 to 5 feet tall, so probably about my height. Right now I would say it is about 12 to 14 inches tall. It will only get 3 to 4 feet wide in about 10 years. So in 10 years we'll have something that's about 5 feet tall by about 4 feet wide. So it will stay nice and compact. And the cool thing about this plant also is that in the winter, Even though it's green the rest of the year, it turns to a bright golden yellow, and so it gives extra added winter interest. And we'll put a picture on the screen right now so that you can see what that looks like in the winter, because it definitely is beautiful. This came from Moser Nursery in France in the early 1900s. And if you try to order one of these from mrmaple.com, they are approximately $45 for a 1-gallon tree. This one, it's probably a nursery 1-gallon size, which is not quite an actual real gallon. And this one cost, I think, $65 to pick up and take home. But they had quite a few different ones, and I picked the one that I thought looked the best in terms of the needles and just the shape of it as well. So I'm looking forward to finding a wonderful spot for this in my garden, because it's definitely a very unique plant, and I want to make sure that I put it someplace where I don't have a lot of other evergreen interest, so that, you know, when I look out in the winter, I can enjoy it. The other thing I'm thinking about is trying to make sure that it's someplace that I can see it when I look out one of my windows in the winter time. Now, granted, if we get a lot of snow, I'm not going to be able to see it at all because it's really short right now, but it'll continue to grow. And that way, if I can see it out the window in the winter time, I can really enjoy that bright yellow color that it's well known for. Well, that's the last plant today that I have to share with you, and I hope you enjoyed this spring plant haul. I know I really had a fun time going to the different nurseries and picking them out, and I'm looking forward to sharing the time with you planting out some of the urns and some other things throughout the garden together. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.